Alright everyone, welcome back to Turnabouts of the Father, where we'll finally finish the turnabout, hopefully, unless this has been the tutorial level all along, and I'm still got like another 20 hours to go with this case. Whatever the case, we're trying to pin the murder on Maya, Phoenix Wright, Trucy, and possibly Kristoff too. They're all in it together. This is an alternate universe though, so if you're not don't understand what's going on, well, you have to watch the previous episodes of Turnabouts of the Father. Anyway, same for Trucy. I can't imagine why she would want to see Larry dead. But even if we were to ignore the question of motive, your theory doesn't really work. What if I had gone with Trucy when Wright had returned? I would have been near the dining door, heard the gunshot, and gone in after the two of them. And so, I would have been the one to notice that the window wasn't closed. And no, there was no way to ensure that I would stay in the living room. So your whole basis for the idea that Trucy is an accomplice becomes meaningless. And since there's no other way for Wright to have escaped, he couldn't have killed Larry. For those wondering, Maya's sprite is glitched in this case, so unfortunately, when she's using this specific animation, she always disappears for quite a while. It's quite unfortunate. You won't get through this argument. I don't think that's for you to decide. I'm just giving you a fair warning. There are two ways this will end. One, you give up. Or two, you go down a very wrong path. Larry was never a competent man, you see. Quite naive. Quite easy to manipulate. I may carry his name, but I don't share any of those qualities. By accusing Mr. Wright, and especially Miss Smith, you've made yourself my enemy. Not a single one of my enemies has ever won against me, Mr. Justice. I don't think you'll be an exception. I think you'll see I make a formidable foe. Considering that you've been allowed to come this far, you better be. Okay. Cross-examination. Gonna have to do a super objection. Somewhere, probably. First, we're gonna press everything, though. Don't bother. What she means by that is that even though I knew Larry, there was virtually no interaction between me and her. At least none that would warrant me killing Larry for her. So your motive doesn't really work. Huh, that's a lie. I saw the way you react to her name, damn you. You seem angry, Mr. Justice? His reaction earlier. What reaction? He reacted upon hearing your name. So? He was surprised that I, of all things, was the suggested motive. Nothing less, nothing more. Naturally, if it is something more, we would like to see some evidence of that. Or that. Or since we're playing in Justice Land, something that would at least suggest it. Again, it doesn't don't bother, it doesn't exist. Fair enough. Trucy's gonna appear? Yep. Don't even try it, Spikes! If you want to say I did have a reason, you better show some proof. Actual proof! Actually, we can go easy on him. As long as he can show something that has a possibility you would have reasons for killing him, it should be enough. Don't worry, there's nothing, because you don't have any reason to do this. Right, you hear that? The person that lived in the house for years is telling you that I have no motive. Object to that! No, don't push him. We don't want to taunt him. He needs to make his own decision. About what? Whether or not he's really on the right track here, of course. But if we were to ignore the question of motive, your theory doesn't really work. It's the figurines! You all know it. I'm getting sick of questions like that. Are you going to let me finish, please? Don't worry, you'll hear it. Okay, calm down, Apollo. Just focus. Don't think about the motives. Think about the crime. Just think about the crime. Uh-oh, he's thinking. That's not really a good sign. You mean, what if you'd accompanied her to the dining room? That is what I said, yes. I mentioned earlier, but I stayed in the living room. And that's where I was when I heard the gunshot. Now, here's a hypothetical scenario. Assuming Trucy and Mr. Wright are the culprits, What if I'd gone with Trucy? What would have happened then? Let me tell you what would have happened. I would have been near the dining door, heard the gunshot, and gone in after the two of them. She's still not incriminated. Like, I still haven't accused her of the murder. That's why she's arguing like this. Because I'm pretty sure she's an accomplice, just like the other two. Or with the other two. There really is no reason to question this part. It's only logical. There's no way I would have walked away when there was no response from the other side of the door. Especially when it was locked. And especially when we heard a gunshot. Now, Trucy, remember. According to Mr. Justice, it was a tape recording! Larry was already dead. Nick had already killed him. Nick? I thought there was no connection between you two. My, aren't you perceptive? Unfortunately, you don't get a cookie. She's never called me Nick in my life. Because we're not close. Still, the look on Mr. Justice's face when he believed that was the case. That was priceless. What the hell? Is this part where you fiendishly chuckle? Why, I'm not evil. I'm merely making a point. A point that Mr. Justice will have no choice but to accept. And so, I would have been the one to notice that the window wasn't closed. Don't bother on this. This is the most logical occurrence. If there's a chance that the maid would notice it, there's a chance I would too. And what was your basis for accusing me again? Oh yeah, that I had to have seen it. But because I didn't, instead of just admitting you're just wrong, I'm an accomplice. So what would have happened to the plan if I just decided to go? What if I told Trucy to wait in the living room? What if I was the one to greet Mr. Wright? What if the two of us heard the gunshot? What if? So many what ifs, so many holes, so many oversights. Those are the staples of your theories. They're all what ifs. How about you actually show us something that actually happened, huh? Oh, but that's right, you can't. Because then you would lose! Face it, it was suicide. There's no alternate solution. Before you go into suggesting cheap tricks... And no, there was no way to ensure that I would stay in the living room. What exactly happened in the living room? Nothing much, we sat down and talked. When Mr. Wright came back, I sent Trucy to greet him. And how did you know it was him? Ah, that's another thing. I didn't! He rang the doorbell. I sent Trucy to look who it is while I stayed in the living room. So no, Trucy couldn't have influenced my decision in any way. Well, maybe couldn't have influenced in any way. Seriously, does this guy speak English? Hey, I'm just doing my job. There was no way. If she did, then there's virtually nothing to suggest it. Damn it. So your whole basis for the idea that Trucy is an accomplice becomes meaningless. So basically, you're saying that because you could have hypothetically gone and seen the window open, that Miss Smith is completely innocent. Essentially, yes. Well, is it possible that Mr. Wright convinced her of becoming an accomplice after the actual murder? Now, that is where we come back to the motivations. How could I convince her in such a short amount of time? Besides, it would have been a pretty flimsy plan, don't you think? Since it pretty much required at least one person to be with him when the gunshot was heard. So when the door was broken down, we should have been aware of the risk that the window would have been seen open. Man, we keep going back to that window. It's such a focal point in this case. It kind of bothers me a little bit. But it's what it is. Anyway, at least that is going by your logic. So the person that was with him must have been in on it from the start. Otherwise, he would have been running a huge risk. What if Trucy had said no? All that planning, all that work would have been for nothing. Ah, wait, let me guess. He used mind control on me. Now that is perfect logic. Logic. You could learn a thing or two from her, boy. Ugh. And since there's no other way for Wright to have escaped, he couldn't have killed Larry. And how is that supposed to work? Well, isn't it logical? I just explained to you that it doesn't make sense for Trucy to be an accomplice. And if that's the case, your original explanation that Wright got in through the window doesn't work anymore. Since, yet again, someone would have noticed that the window wasn't properly closed. And so you lose. We'll see about that. I'm not done yet. This isn't good. I need to think of something fast. Okay, it's time to guess. This is gonna be tough. You know what? I'm gonna present the key right here. Gotta use the super objection. So, yeah, right here. Super objection. Present the key. That is not it. Okay. Well, maybe I need to present her too with the key. Or Larry with the key. No. Okay, guess it's not that statement. Sorry for bothering. I'll try one more thing at least. With the window. Key window. Yeah, figured. I think I have to start by the beginning statements, actually. Either that or I have to present the key in the something else at a different statement. I'm pretty sure the key is the key to this cross-examination. Ugh, here we go. Trucy and the key on the statement that was on. Like, I don't remember. Ugh, this one took a lot of trial and error. I wasn't presenting Trucy a lot in the beginning. I thought it would be Phoenix, Larry, or Maya, but no, apparently you have to present Trucy. And he asked me not to disappoint you, Mr. Best, and I aim to please. Oh, so you still got fight left in you. Good. Let's see what you can do, then. My pleasure. First off, I will agree that you are correct on one point. Considering the circumstances, it's impossible for Mr. Wright to have escaped the room through the window. Hence, it's impossible for me to be the killer. I see. Clever, Mr. Justice. Huh? Maya's smarter than Wright in this case, in this alternate universe. However, that doesn't mean that escape was impossible. In fact, the path to an escape was very simple. We just had to use the door. I think you're forgetting the basic facts here. The key was found inside of the room. Oh, I remember the facts very well. But you don't remember my theories from earlier, Miss Von Karma. What? What I'm suggesting is this. Mr. Wright used the key to escape the dining room and locked it from the outside. And that's where it's impossible. She just told you that. Will you please let me finish for once? Yes, the key was supposedly found in the room after the door was broken down. Supposedly. Are we seriously back to that? Hello? Did you forget Miss Maya's testimony from earlier? I did not, Miss Smith. That testimony gave you an alibi and proof that you didn't commit the murder. But it didn't eliminate the possibility that planted the key. But upon returning when you met at the dining room door, Mr. Wright gave you the key to plant back on Mr. Butts' corpse. But why? If they were a culprit and accomplice, there would be no need for that. But you forget. There was no way they could have known whether or not Miss Butts would have come with them to the dining room door. In fact, they probably prepared a plan in anticipation for that. And so the last problem is resolved. Mr. Wright left the room through the door and exited the house. He later returned and gave the key to the dining room back to Miss Smith. And she, in turn, planted it on the body. That's the truth. And nothing but the truth. My, aren't you confident? Your Honor, I'm sorry, but I just remembered something. It took me a while to actually put the face and name together, but I remember now. Remember what? I remember. Mr. Gavin was there on the night of Larry's death. Christoph Gavin, yeah. I was mistaken earlier. We talked a little while I was working the garden. That's what neither of you said earlier. Ah, yes, I remember now, too. You must excuse me. It was a month ago. What the hell? Your Honor, you can't honestly believe this. Yes, he does. I was unprepared, Your Honor. Earlier, I testified purely out of my wish to clear Mr. Wright's name. Seeing Mrs. Busts completely slipped my mind, I'm afraid. No, Your Honor, please! I was still in a bit of shock. in shock. I mean, being called to a suicide trial a month after my husband's death? To be honest, I didn't even think about what happened before we pulled the trigger. Oh, come on! Your Honor, it's obvious they're lying here. Huh. Well, Mr. Justice, it would appear that you were wrong. If you will remember, Mr. Gavin testified that I did not go anywhere near that window. As such, it's impossible for me to be the culprit. No, I refuse! And by extension, it's impossible for me to be an accomplice. Your Honor! Mr. Justice, yes? Do you have any evidence to suggest that these people are giving false testimony? Just look at them! Your Honor, I caught them lying earlier. You can't allow them to change their story. But their reasons are entirely justified and human. Unless you can provide definite proof. What happened to not standing such an obvious and pathetic lie? Fine, then I want them to testify. Why? You'd just be strong word, different word. Treading old ground. Because you're making stuff up on the go. Which means I can catch you another lie. Your Honor, they've officially revised their testimonies. The defense demands a right to cross-examine. Oh my god. Very well, you have that right, Mr. Justice. You bet your ass I do. Saying that to the judge, huh? Thinking about it. Never learn, do you? Well, if you must. Okay, here's story. I was unaware of it at the time, but I did witness the figurine collector's demise. I wasn't lying earlier. I didn't instantly remember him, but yes, he was there. Yes, and Miss Butts was there in that garden as well. After she left, I stuck around in front of the house for quite some time. And I went back inside where I saw Larry closing the dining room door. After which, Trucy and I were together until the gunshot. In the meantime, I witnessed Mr. Wright approach the house at around 10 p.m. Up until that point, I saw nobody else. What he means by that, I imagine, is that nobody else approached the house, especially the window. The window did not approach the house? Okay, and since there was no other possible way into the dining room, it's impossible for Larry's death to have been a murder. And that's it, the truth. Oh, it's just these two? I thought I was going to get some testimony from Phoenix and Trucy as well. Earlier, I admit I was skeptical. I was frustrated. I was frustrated with Ares throwing me into this. Now, though? Now I'm just angry. And you don't like me when I'm angry. They think they're so arrogant that they can get away with flat-out lying? No. No, I won't let them. I don't care if Wright did it. And I don't care if they're lying for his sake. All that I know is that they're lying. And I'll catch them. I'll catch them if this is the last thing I do. Your Honor, before we begin, I'd like to state that we've all gotten a bit sick and tired of Mr. Justice's outlandish accusations. Not to mention, I'd say this trial has gone on far, far longer than it should have. Wouldn't you agree? Well, I thought so. As such, I would like to propose one tiny restriction on Mr. Justice if possible. Instant kill if I press the wrong statement. It's quite simple. Don't waste our time. 1. I think you've gotten all the information regarding what happened that night, so I don't think it'd be really necessary to go on with pressing me or Mr. Gavin when it's completely unnecessary, wouldn't you say? And secondly, let me guess, larger penalties? A very good guess. Okay, twice the normal amount. So it's not instant kill, but it's a lot less forgiving. Fine. Mr. Justice, I accept those terms. It's quite obvious that you won't let yourself slip up anymore anyway. One thing though, I don't think a super objection— oh cool, thank God! I don't think a super objection will be absolutely necessary here. I can still use it, but something tells me one evidence will be enough. I can fill in the blanks myself additionally. Let's begin! Okay, I'm gonna have to think about this. Hold on a moment. I think this might actually be easy. Like, this is such an obvious thing, but the figurine collector's demise. Here's the thing, though. I'm reading Christoph's profile right now. He's a random passerby. That's what he's supposed to be. So how does he know he's a figurine collector? Can I just present Christoph, actually? Okay, cool. Crime scene info. So that's technically 2 evidence, but thankfully I'll just presenting Christoph's profile continue the thing. That's good, that's good. Anyway, alright, enough is enough. It's time to drag the truth out of whatever is going on here to light, once and for all. I might have been bluffing this whole time, but I know a cover-up when I see one. Mr. Gavin, please take a look at the information regarding the crime scene. Me? Very well. Which part in particular? The dining room, of course, which will have shelf. Right, yeah, shelf. The part regarding the crime scene, specifically the shelf. Wow, this is one of the last things. The shelf. Mr. Gavin, where does it say that the shelf is located in the dining room? Next to the window. Very good. Now, Mr. Gavin, you've never visited or know anything about Mr. Butts, do you? Not in particular, no. Is there a point to these questions? Just a second, Miss Von Karma. So, you literally know nothing about the victim except what's been said here today. Yes, I suppose you could say that. Wait! Too little too late, Maya. Congratulations! You've just contradicted yourself. What? Miss Von Karma, has the fact that the victim was a figurine collector ever actually been brought up at any point during this trial? Yeah, some typos here and there, even this late. No, it was not. Wait. You know, Mr. Gavin, I would have let this slide if, say, you happened to catch a glance at the collection through the dining room window. After all, it would have been in your sights at the time. But unfortunately for you, as you just stated, the shelf holding them, the entire collection, was next to the window. Which means that it would have been impossible to see it from the outside. So, what does that mean, Mr. Gavin? Well, allow me to tell you what it means. It means that you know a lot more than you're letting on. In fact, with this statement alone, you've proven that you were in Mr. Butts' home. I don't believe it. Mr. Gavin, what is the meaning of this? It's beyond obvious that he is, to some degree, involved in the actual case. He was not just some innocent bystander. But wait! Miss Butts has just testified and confirmed Mr. Gavin's account. Yes. Yes, she did. And so, we must also doubt her account of the events. But wait a minute, Mr. Justice. You aren't even aware of what you're implying, are you? I told you earlier that there were 2 ways this will end. The one where you give up, and the one where you go down a wrong path. You chose the latter, which makes you either a fool or extremely brave. In this case, it would be the former, I'm afraid. Enough, Miss Butts. You played a good game, but I think it's time for me to win, don't you think? You have a very strange definition of winning. So far, you've accused Mr. Wright of murder, Miss Smith of being his accomplice. You're claiming that Mr. Gavin has lied, and thus Miss Butts must be as well. Lying. Yeah, lying. Yes, Your Honor, I did all of those things. Because you see, Mr. Wright, Miss Smith, Miss Butts, Mr. Gavin. Yes, this explains the fact that he lied in the first place. They were all in on it! Yes! You're all the murderers of Larry Butts. The locked room never existed. After all, the door was broken down. What evidence do we have it was ever locked? What evidence do we have the events happened as they claim it did? That's right, none! Your Honor, the defense accuses... I'm going to stop you right there. I've stood here and listened to you accuse person after person. Theory after theory, possibility after possibility. I will admit that some of them were fairly entertaining. It didn't make much of a difference for me. I knew that I would win no matter what. And yet now I find myself needing to speak up and put a stop to this. Because only now have you severely stopped making sense. Let's break your theory down. First off, you can't claim that Mr. Gavin was in any way involved in the plot. And why not? Because it doesn't make sense. If it was in on the whole thing, why would he make the initial mistake to begin with? You'd think they would have gotten their story straight after all. Well, it could have just been poor coordination? Right, of course. How about no? I second that notion, it just doesn't really work. But why did you forget about seeing him on the night of the crime? Shock, as I said. And the figurines, what about them? What about them? All you're claiming is that he must have been in Butts' home. You didn't say when or under which circumstances. Perhaps they crossed paths once and he simply forgot about it. Perhaps he heard it in passing. Perhaps we actually did mention the figurines and you simply have poor memory. Frankly, it's irrelevant. You don't have any proof. In fact, you haven't had any for the entirety of this trial. Give me a break, Francisca. I started this trial with literally just my badge. In truth, we don't even need Gavin's testimony to be true. Since I realized yet another reason why your theory from earlier doesn't work. Trucy or myself would have heard the dining room being opened. If Mr. Gavin is lying, none of us could possibly imagine what reason it could be for, but... in the end, I suppose it doesn't really matter. Damn you! This was a trap from the start, wasn't it? You can't say I didn't warn you. Oh, she was thinking that instead of saying it. Okay. Well, guess what? I'm still not done. Fine. Then just the three of you. He just doesn't know when to stop. Next, you'll accuse the judge. Me? What did I do? Well, I was a witness and got accused of murder. So I guess he'll accuse you of being a high-paid prostitute or something. No! Look, it's still possible. The prostitute thing? Anyway, possible, sure, why not? However, if we use the logic of everyone is in on it, then we might as well throw everyone we even had anything to do even remotely with any and every crime in jail. Our basis? They could have been in on it, Your Honor. Wait, hold on. You had your chance. Let's think of it like this, boy. You have any evidence showing that things didn't happen as we claimed they did? Do you have any evidence that the door wasn't locked? That the window wasn't closed? That we had any motive to want him dead? That we actually went through with it? Is the answer you seek the autopsy report? Is it in that crime scene info you keep pulling out every other second? Come on, there's got to be something in there. He could be hiding behind that badge of his. But wait. Everyone, let's be serious here for a second. It's also possible that a ghost walked through the walls and killed him. It makes perfect sense. Ooh, now that is logic. If we could actually be serious here, the biggest issue is this. Why would they come up with such a convoluted story? Convoluted. Sorry for the noises upstairs. If they're all lying, all in on it, surely there were easier ways of killing the man. Hell, there wouldn't even be a point for the locked room. They could have just easily claimed we were all in the living room when he got up and went to the dining room. We heard a gunshot and all ran there. He was dead. And all three of them give each other alibis. If they set up the scene properly, which they probably could, given that one of them has quite a bit of expert knowledge, guilty as charged, the whole thing could have been resolved and made obvious quite easily. Why even have the part about Wright leaving and coming back? Why have such a complicated story? It's possible that that was their plan from the beginning, to confuse us. Do you have any actual proof of that? For that? Besides, why exactly would they risk dare risk their lives on such a plan? So many typos. After all, they had no way of knowing that this trial would ever occur. So they had to set up everything anticipating only a police investigation. And let me assure you, the police did find Mr. Wright's return suspicious. However, that didn't seem to disprove the suicide theory, so he was let go. Why open up to such a risk? Chances are, excuse me, they could have come up with a much better story. One that the police couldn't disprove. What if only Miss Smith and Miss Butts were in on it? What if Miss Butts lied about seeing her husband alive? What if the planting of the key was possible? Please, Apollo, you're embarrassing yourselves right now. Too many what ifs. This trial began as a farce, and it seems that it will be a tragedy by its end. That doesn't work either. After all, you say that Mr. Wright wasn't in on it, and if he wasn't in on it, there was no way to know that he would have happened to forget something and come back. And if they couldn't predict that, they wouldn't have a witness. Hence, what is the point of doing the trick at all? And remember, it couldn't have been come up with on the spot. Because of your tape recording argument, that is. Well, what if they somehow manipulated events and ensured that I would forget something? Oh, that is rich. Like what? What did they use? Well, regardless of what you claim, you don't have any evidence. I know that much by now. From everything I've seen so far, this was your only explanation for what happened. And that explanation, by my view, doesn't work. And even if we were to give it the benefit of the doubt, a re-investigation would be a waste of time. There was no evidence the first time, and there was no evidence the second time. Even if you are correct, there is no way for us to prove it. I'm making another save because, goodness gracious, this argument has taken quite a while to go through. There's a reason why I saw this trial as pointless, you know. I just couldn't imagine how any theory that you might suggest here can be proven. My suspicions turned out to be completely justified in the end. The truth is, this trial was impossible to win for you from the start. Face it, Justice! It's over! No! Big no. Is it over? Your Honor? I honestly don't see any reasons for this trial continuing. Yeah, it's obviously just talking nonsense and throwing accusations around. Damn it, wait! Damn it, I know they were all in on it. They killed Larry Butts. Hey, I warned you, but you didn't listen. In the end, you turned out to be the foolish man I thought you to be. Congrats! Enough. There's no reason for this trial to go any longer. But enough, Mr. Justice. I have heard quite enough from you today. If it's any consolation, it isn't your fault. You're fighting a battle you simply couldn't win. Evidence, evidence, evidence. If I hadn't been practically dragged into this, then maybe I could have... Or maybe not even then. Maybe I really was looking for things that were never there. This case is extremely clear. And that is where we will have to disagree, Your Honor. Daddy. Yep, Daddy. Because I am obligated to point out that this case is still not over. You... Ares. Chief Prosecutor, what do you mean? Apollo has done well. He has shown that there are no more obvious possibilities remaining. Well, he did seem to believe that the culprit was everyone. Which, to be fair, wasn't exactly eliminated, but... it might as well be, because it isn't the truth. Ugh. And how can you say that? I thought the entire point of this charade was to try to find an alternate explanation. That's the only one remaining. You're talking an awful lot like you know something we don't. But then again, that doesn't surprise me in the slightest. Ares! Yes, Apollo? What exactly is the point of all this? The same purpose of any trial. To show the truth. Well, congrats then, because judging by how this one is going to end, the truth is exactly how it seemed. Who would have thought? Can't stand this anymore. What are you playing here, you bastard? What are you hoping to find here, and why did you bring me into it? Before I just didn't care, but after all of this... You know, somewhere deep down, I hoped it wasn't about that case. That case which, according to you, doesn't exist. And this trial should have shown you exactly why. There is no connection between what you're looking for and this case. If it's murder, like you're hoping it is, it's impossible except under one specific circumstance. One which proves he doesn't exist anyway. After all, the suspects in this case have no connection to the others. We've wasted enough time, Your Honor. Hand down your verdict and let us end this. Franziska. I know who it is. And they are very much real, I assure you. The Leviathan. Ho 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 ho. Ares. What's the Leviathan? Not what, but who. And the answer is simple. The Leviathan is the true culprit of this case. He is the one who killed Larry Butts. And at this point in time, at least 15 other people. Yes, I know, it's all conjecture, right? But it's the truth. Like father, like son. When the answer doesn't satisfy you, you invent a new one. You've been at this for the past 5 years. Because I'm right! I know I'm right. I'm not sure what exactly is happening here. Please, Your Honor, let me testify. Oh, yeah, I was thinking he was gonna testify. Let me show you the truth of what happened. Your truth, Ares. For the last goddamn time, Franziska. You know what? I don't have the strength to listen to this anymore. Just say what you have to say and let's end this. But promise me this. If you're wrong, you'll stop for good. Promise me, Chief Prosecutor, or I won't let you testify. Fair enough. I promise. Now, listen well. What is going on here? This, Apollo. This is the fruit of my work. This is the end of my journey! What a drama queen. Okay, what am I gonna have to do now? The Leviathan is a serial killer, plain and simple. I began investigating him 5 years ago upon noticing a connection between a number of suicide cases. It is my belief that the Leviathan kills and creates the illusion of suicide. The motive for these killings, I'm afraid I do not know even now. But their face, I do know. I realized it the moment I saw the Butts case. And after looking back on everything, I realized the shocking truth. The Leviathan killed my wife and masked it as a suicide. This trial was conducted for the sake of eliminating alternate possibilities. Now, only one path remains. To the Leviathan! Yeah, Apollo is so done with this. Apollo, You! This entire trial, all of this crap, has been you chasing this Leviathan? I know it sounds hard to believe, but hard to believe? Ha! You know, before today, I actually hated you with all of my heart and soul. Now I pity you. What a sad man you are. You can't even accept that the reason Mother committed suicide, that the reason Mother committed suicide was because of you. You just couldn't accept, could you? So you picked up on a crazy serial killer theory and said, yes, he killed my wife too. Because you're so pathetic, and you know you're pathetic. That you couldn't even accept the truth. Objection! Edgeworth. That was Edgeworth, but of course it's Ares here. I know this is hard to understand, but listen to me, Apollo. Ares. The one that needs to listen is you. Look at yourself. You're stuck living in the past. No, I'm not wrong. Yes, you are. Your Honor. Yes. The defense rests. Larry Butts committed... No, you can't! I refuse! I don't care what you want. It's over, Father. Everything that's happened so far has been to corner him! Has been for nothing! You know what I think? I think you don't even know who this Leviathan is. I think you were just hoping for me to present some possibility. Some chance that one of these witnesses is the culprit. And then say, That's the Leviathan! That's him! Because Larry Butts just happened to have committed suicide without any motive. No! Listen to me! There is a connection here! A connection between my suspect and the Butts case. No, more than that. The previous cases as well. Please, Apollo, I'm begging you. I won't hold any more secrets from you. If it turns out that I'm mad, then so be it, but please, give me a chance. I hate you. I hate everything you are, and I hate everything you stand for. Even before she pulled the trigger, I despised you. Dispatch is not a symbol of my profession. It's a symbol of everything that you are not. And I wear it proudly. I always will. You want a cross-examination? Fine, you'll have it. And then I never want to see you again. Let's end this.